Okay, give me a couple of minutes to walk you through how to use these financial templates. I've tried to make it as easy as possible. So under course content, go to module 4, because that's where the actual assignment is sitting. And scroll down and you'll see the business plan 2, the financial and summary. And you'll see the two files there that I'm asking you to use. One is an Excel file, the XLS file. And the other is a Word file. It's a DOC file. So first thing you need to do is to save both of these files in one folder on your hard drive somewhere. So I right-clicked on that and I'm going to click Save Link As. That was the Excel file, and I'm going to create a folder on my desktop just so it's easy for me to find and show you guys. But wherever you want, as long as you put them in the same folder, make sure that you do that. It's very important. So I'm just going to leave it called New Folder. That's fine. And I'm not going to rename the template at all. I'll just leave it Financial Plan Templates. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the Word file. Right-click, Save Link As, and I'm going to save it in that same folder on my desktop. Okay, so now that I have both of those saved, let's see if I can drag over my folder here for you. If I double click on that, you'll see them both sitting here. So let's go ahead and we're just going to open the Word file. I'm just going to double click on it and open it. Okay, great. Now, you'll have to enable editing first thing. And then it's going to give you this prompt, and it's going to say, do you want to update this document with the data from the linked file, which is the Excel file? And yes, we do. We want to keep those two synced together. And this can take a minute. All right. So great. Here is the Word template. You should be fairly familiar with how that's operating. And I'm going to just scroll down. The executive summary is the first section. You'll see that should be completed last. So go ahead and leave that, along with any highlights that you want to emphasize. And then goals and objectives and keys to success. So these would be two other areas where you might want to fill in information. So if you have some goals where you see your business in the future, go ahead and detail those here. Make sure that they're SMART goals, meaning specific, measurable, usually $1 or some kind of something that you can measure is attached. It's timely and it's attainable. So give it a time frame. I want to reach 50% market share within 5 years. And if that's the case, then also give some reasons of how or why you think you're going to get there. That could be following in this keys to success, what it is that you're doing differently from your competitors. The company description, org management, and marketing sections we've already prepared. Just go ahead and ignore those, but if you wanted to fill those in a future date, you certainly could copy and paste those. All right, so here's the fun part, the financial projections. So I'm going to scroll down to the startup section. And there's some information there, obviously, for you to fill that out. But you'll see what I've done here is I've already linked that Excel spreadsheet into this Word document. So once you're done with the financial information, it's going to carry over into this one Word document, which hopefully will save you some time. So the easiest way, just click anywhere on this chart, and you'll see it's outlined it for me. And then you can double click on that and it'll open the Excel file, or you can right click and click on linked worksheet object and click open link. Now this is really important. If you go to right click or you double click and nothing happens, it just means that your two files, when you copied them from Blackboard, didn't stay linked together, meaning that link got broken somehow, whether or not they got moved in different folders or whatever. It's very temperamental, those two files. So don't worry, don't panic, don't email me. It's okay. You can just complete these two separately, meaning the Word file and the Excel file separately, and then just attach both of them with your submission. And I'll understand if you couldn't get them linked together. But if you can, watch this. It's great. I just double click and it already opened up that Excel template for me. Now I can go ahead and fill in all this information in the Excel file. And when I'm done, I can update those links in Word and all that information will copy over into my Word. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the Excel template here and walk you through it. You'll see there's tabs at the bottom. Hopefully you're all somewhat familiar with Excel. Go ahead and click on the Introduction tab. It's going to tell you you need to enter information on the yellow highlighted boxes. The green ones are assumptions. You can modify those as necessary. First thing you're going to have to do is type in your company name. Okay, then hit enter. Now go to tab number 1, which is the required startup funds, and you'll see here all these yellow boxes you need to go in and fill out to the best of your ability. Okay, so I went ahead and I typed in some numbers here for some of these. I'm going to assume that I'm not buying a building at this time. I'm not going to buy some real estate, but I do need to buy, say, a new computer, some photography equipment, whatever it might be. I need a desk, a place for my customers to sit, maybe pre-opening salary. So I had to go in and get the building prepped and ready, and I had to pay some people. So I'll go ahead and throw that in there. Beginning insurance premiums or prepaid insurance. Your insurance company is going to make you pay in advance for any insurances you're going to need for the next 3, 6 months, year, whatever it might be. So go ahead and enter those there. Any beginning inventory. If you're going to be a retailer and sell merchandise, you'll have to carry inventory. If you're a service business, you won't have this. Legal and accounting fees to get your business up and running, maybe consulting with an attorney to form an LLC. Rent deposits, prepayment for your rent for your building, utility deposits, supplies, advertising, licenses. So fill all that in to the best of your ability. Now, a quick note here, back in our Word file, let me see if I can find it. Back in our Word file, here's the startup and acquisition summary page. So you may want to disclose or explain those amounts that you just selected when you were doing your spreadsheet. And then when you come down here, you should be able to right click and update the link, and then all of those facts and figures are going to carry right into your Word document. So that's very, very nice. It's going to tell you how much money you need. And the example I came up with, I'm going to need $30,000 just to get the business open. So please keep that in mind. Let's keep going. Sales forecast section. This is probably one of the more important sections. And let me go back to the Excel spreadsheet. And we'll keep moving. You have to fill out the first 6 of these tabs, and then it's going to auto-populate your other information like your balance sheet and your income statement. So salaries and wages, this is an important tab. So go ahead and again, fill in the yellow with what you know. So your owner's salaries and wages, let's say you want to make $40,000 in your first year. That's $3,000 a month. If you're going to pay other employees a salary, go ahead and put their annual salary here. Now you can calculate how many full-time employees do you plan to hire, how many part-time employees, how many estimated hours per week for the full-time and their hourly rate. Same thing for part-time. So let's say I want 1 full-time employee, and I'm going to pay them $12 per hour, and 1 part-time employee, and $9 an hour is fine, and the part-timer will only work 20 hours a week. So that tells me my monthly payroll just for the net pay or gross pay is going to be $61.93. But then you have payroll taxes that you also have to take into account. Your Social Security and Medicare taxes, which we call our FICA taxes, and you can see the percentages there. Social Security is only on the first $102,000 in any given year. So I'm assuming most of you aren't going to be paying your employees more than that amount. So we just have a very basic calculation going on in there. Medicare is on all earnings. FUTA and SUTA taxes, your federal and state unemployment taxes, those are only on the first $7,000 in any given year. But again, I just have a basic formula in there. So that means that your payroll taxes are going to be $691 in addition to the amounts that you actually have to pay your employees. So in your first month, you'll pay roughly $6,884 just in payroll. And for that year, that comes to nearly $83,000. Let's go to the next tab. This is your fixed operating expenses. So you're going to go in here and again, fill in all of your expenses that aren't going to change from month to month. For example, taxes, insurance, you've got other items over here. Advertising, maybe you have a monthly budget set up. Car and truck expenses, so maintenance and gas, you can estimate what that's going to cost you. So let me fill that in. Okay, so I went ahead and filled in just some estimates of what I thought some of the expenses might be for the business that I want to have. That's $815 a month. Regardless of whether I sell a dime, I'm still incurring these fixed expenses. that comes out to, as you see, unfortunately, it's roughly $9,780 a year for those particular expenses. And then up here I've got growth built in. Oh, I should have mentioned that for salaries and wages as well. You can estimate if you want to give your employees a raise every year, go ahead and add that in, what percentage raise you anticipate. Okay, so sales forecast here, this is pretty cool. So you'll have to pick, and I only have, you'll see here, it's sheet number 4 and sheet number 5 are sales forecast for up to 4 different products. So if you're going to sell a multitude of products, you kind of have to narrow those in. So if you're a bakery and you want to sell 10 different kinds of baked goods, well, maybe you'll have cookies as one category, cakes as one category, cupcakes kind of thing. Or if you just have a service, you want to be an attorney, you'll just offer legal services. You only have one product or service. So I've got A, you scroll down as B, that would be product number 2. And if you go to 5, you'll see C and D. So go ahead and list that particular product or service that you want to. Okay. Then we will list out the selling price for that particular item. Now, you may have to take an average, and then the variable cost per unit. That's going to be, in the example of a cupcake, your ingredients, your packaging, your labor to actually prepare the cupcake. So these will be costs that you're only incurring if you're preparing cupcakes. Those are variable costs, and they remain constant. And then that will give you a contribution margin. The contribution margin is what you'll have left then to pay all of your other expenses and to pay yourself at the end of the day. Then determine how many cupcakes you expect to sell in month 1, 2, 3, 4 on down the road. Okay, so I went ahead and plugged in some estimated sales figures. And you can see I have it increasing by $100 or 100 cupcakes a month. Now, when we go back to your Excel file, this is some information, again, that you're probably going to need to document. So explain why you expect to be selling 100 more units a month, or why in your 12th month did you have a double or a nice increase. Maybe it's Christmas, you're expecting a large increase. Go ahead and make those explanations of how you estimated this information. And this is really cool. So it's going to tell me, based on selling that one product for the year, I expect to make $40,000. My variable cost would be half of that. So my gross margin is half of that. My fixed expenses would be $8,845. And my profit then would be $12,100. It's telling me that I need to sell $16,000 worth of cupcakes or $5,390 to break even. And you could go ahead and complete that for other products as well. Cash disbursements, go ahead and leave this. This just relates to receivables and payables, when you're going to get monies from your customers if you extend credit, and when you're going to pay. We're assuming everyone's going to pay on time for simplicity. This particular sheet, number 7, is for existing businesses only. So only if you have a current business would you fill this out. If you do, you can go ahead and complete it. Assets are things you own. Liabilities are things you owe, and equity is the difference between those two. And then, voila, it's automatically going to prepare your financial statements for you based on the answers you gave in the first 6. So let me go ahead. You can do it by month there. I'm going to fast forward here to sheet number 22. It's an income statement for the first 3 years. So based on what I said, I would have lost, looks like $80,000 in that first year. Reason being, my income was $40,500. I had salaries of $82,000 and other expenses of $9,000. Okay, let me go through that one more time. So we had income of $40,500. I forgot to subtract the cost of the merchandise, which was $20,000. That left us with the gross margin of $20,250. Gross margin is extremely important with a small business because this tells you how much you have left to pay your other expenses, your rent, your utilities, your employees, yourself. And in this case, our wages were $82,000. That gross margin is not enough to even cover my wages. I also had fixed expenses of $10,000 a month, other expenses. So you can see this particular business, as it's laid out, is going to lose money. We can go back to and look at the balance sheet. So these are things that you'll want to document in your Word file. And I also would like to mention, okay, so if we go back to sheet 8, you can see it broken down by month. So there's a couple things we could do here once we see we're not going to make money. One, we could say, wow, you know what? I can't figure out why. This is a great business idea. I want to make it work. So we could go back to some of our earlier assumptions and make some changes. Maybe instead of hiring one full-timer and one part-timer up front, I'll just hire one part-time person to help me out, and I'll reduce my initial salary to $30,000. You can kind of manipulate these numbers and see how that's going to impact your ultimate financial statements so you can go ahead and make some money. The other thing, you may say, wow, I'm not going to make money in years 1. And then if you go forward, you'll see here's income statement year 2. Maybe over time we are doing better, you can see. And you'll say, well, we're not going to make money for a couple of years, but I anticipate we'll make money after the 4th year or 5th year. And that's an option. You can do that as well. Or you can just realize that maybe you don't have such a great business idea and ultimately not go through it. Obviously, you need to present something for this financial plan, but I did have a student a couple years ago who wanted to open a coffee shop, and she went through all these numbers and she decided that it wasn't feasible. And I think that was probably a good decision on her behalf, because you have to sell an awful lot of cups of coffee to make a decent wage. And once you start breaking it down like this, it's quite evident. Okay, so we've got all our information, and I want you to flip through and click and see all of these different files. But let's go back to the Word file. So I mentioned to you before, those two are linked, and once they're linked, we can just come in and on all the spreadsheets, just right click it when you're in your Word file and click on the update link, and it'll carry over all the information that you're going to need to put into your business plan, your financial plan. All the financial data, all the numbers will automatically carry over for you. So this takes no time at all, basically. Just right click, update link. Okay, so once you get all of the numbers in here the way you want, then you need to go back and fill in all these gray areas that I know you look forward to doing. So again, you want to look at this information that you've compiled based on your template, and you're going to want to explain that. So that's where the hard work is going to come in, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. Are your estimates realistic? And if so, have you documented those as to why you came up with the numbers that you did? So I hope you find this helpful. Please do not hesitate to ask me if you do have questions. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. Thank you.